Hi, this is Ofori, the digital reader, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the Boox Page, which is an Android-powered e-ink e-reader. The Boox Page is the black and white sibling of the Go Color 7. They are identical devices except for three key differences. The Go Color 7 is, of course, in color. The Go Color 7 has 4 gigabytes of RAM instead of 3 gigabytes of RAM, and the Go Color 7 has 64 gigabytes of memory instead of 32 gigabytes of memory. Now both have SD cards, so the memory issue isn't that big a thing, but those are the big three differences. Other than that, they're identical devices with the same processor. The interface will be a little bit different because the Go Color 7 is going to have color controls, whereas the Boox Page is going to have black and white controls. But that's pretty much it. So I'm going to be doing this review in 3 different videos. This first video is going to be an overview of the device and also taking a look at 3 third-party apps that I feel are the most popular and what the experience is in those apps on this device. The second video is going to be me going through more third-party apps, and I'm going to also be going through some apps that from recommendations that you send me in this video. So I'll check the comments section in this video, and if you want me to use a particular third-party app, if you want me to use Barnes & Nobles, or if you want me to, use Kobo or something like that, let me know. And then I'll go ahead and pull up and use that app in the second video. And then the third video is going to be a wrap-up. It's going to be what I think of the device, what I think its pluses are, what I think its minuses are, and who would I recommend this device for. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and start out. I'll probably do the specs, then I'll do a physical overview of the device so you can kind of see the size compared to some other e-ink readers. I'll go over the interface, and then I'll go ahead and I will pull up some third-party apps to show you what the experience is for those. So I decided to get this device mainly because I wanted to see what the state of Android-powered e-ink readers was. I had a Leaf years ago, a Boox Leaf years ago, and the experience I remember of that device is it didn't have great battery life, and that using third-party apps on it was a huge kludge. It just wasn't a great experience. And at the time, I wasn't using that many third-party e-reading apps. Now I use a lot more, especially Hoopla and Libby. So that was another thing I thought about, is I've really been enjoying Hoopla, but I'd like to use Hoopla with an e-reading device for the books I get off of Hoopla. As far as comics and movies and stuff like that, I'm fine with it on my tablet. But for books, I think I want to see what that experience is like. Also, as most people who are long-term e-readers are, I have some books that are stuck in Barnes & Nobles, a couple, and I'd like to go in there and finish reading those 2 or 3 books that I still have in Barnes & Nobles and use the app for that. So first, let's start with the specs. The Boox is a 7-inch screen, and it uses e-ink Carta 1200. The most modern e-ink Carta right now is 1300, and only 2 mainstream devices have that right now, which is the Kindle Paperwhite and the Kobo Carta Black and White. So those both use e-ink Carta 1300. Resolution 300 ppi. 3 gigabytes RAM, as I mentioned, 32 gigabytes memory with a micro SD card you can put in. It uses Android 11, but just remember, well, not remember, but what I found out is for Boox devices, the Android version isn't that important because The Boox devices have their own operating system that they lay on top of Android. So you won't really notice whether it's Android 11 or Android 12 or Android 13 because you're going to be doing everything through the Boox OS interface. Looking at the document formats, it does a ton of different formats, and most of those formats that it does are going to be through Neo Reader, their built-in e-reader. Any other formats, you can download apps, which is the beauty of the Boox readers, is that you can download apps. As far as some of the other incidentals, it's got page turn buttons. It's got a built-in speaker. It's got a built-in microphone, so you can actually record on it. It's got a G sensor, and it is an incredibly light and compact device. And I'll show you that when I show you the comparisons to the sizes of the other e-readers that I own. And what you're getting in the box comes, of course, with the Boox Page. It's got a USB-C cable. It's got a card tray eject tool and the quick start guide and the warranty sheet. As for the size of the device, here it is with my 11th gen Kindle Paperwhite, which has a 6.8 inch screen. The Boox Page has a 7-inch screen. Here it is with my InkPad 3 Color, which has a 7.8 inch screen. Here it is with my Pocketbook Verse Pro Color, which has a 6-inch screen. And here it is with all of my ebook readers, with the exception of the Pocketbook Lux 4, which I own. I didn't include that because it's a 6-inch screen and very similar in size to the Pocketbook Verse Pro Color. So now let's take a look at the device. I generally recommend, for best battery life, to power the device on when you begin reading, then leave it on for your reading session, or however long you're planning to read, even if you take some breaks. And then once you're done reading for the day, power it off. So I thought I'd show you how long it takes to actually power on from scratch. So that took maybe 30 seconds. That's not too bad. So let's kind of just go through everything. Generally, when your power on, it's going to take you to your library. The clock here shows the stuff that you're currently reading. These show the books that are currently on your device in Neo Reader. This shows all of your cloud sources where you're going to be getting your books. For example, I use Dropbox, and I also use the Neo Reader's cloud service. The Boox's cloud service. Then they have a store. The store is mostly public domain books and free stuff. It's not a great store. It's basically a poor man's version of the Gutenberg Project. You can sort by recommended and category, but once again, it's really just books that are out of copyright. Storage is going to basically your files app. It's going to be your file where everything's stored, where you can find your documents and images. Your download folder, if you download a book or an app, it would be in here. Videos, that's where it would store any videos you downloaded. And if you decided to download any fonts, it would download it. I would put the fonts there. Next is, and just so you can kind of see a quick. This is the actual literal file system breakdown that's on your this device. It is backed by and it is powered by Android. But as I go through this, you'll note that the system is actually very different than stock Android. And I consider that one of the biggest hurdles of these devices is a third learning curve for me. I knew iOS, I knew Android, and then I had to completely learn this device, and I'm still getting used to it. Next is apps. That's kind of the easiest one. They have an AI assistant. It's kind of like a poor man's Siri. They have Boox Drop. Boox Drop is the equivalent of Send to Kindle or Pocketbook Cloud. It is their cloud server where you can store documents and read those documents on either a Boox device that has Boox Drop, or it's actually an iOS and an Android app you can download onto your phone or tablet and use Boox Drop that way, as long as you've signed up and you have an account through Boox Drop. I'll do a tutorial on that at some point. I did create one, but I just didn't need a third area to put all my books, so I mostly still use Pocketbook Cloud for all my books. It has a calculator, calendar and memo, and the memos can also be stored in Boox Drop if you want. Clock, dictionary, gallery, and that would be where you put any pictures. I'd already downloaded Hoopla. The help center isn't really a help center. It's basically just a link to Boox's website so you can look up stuff. But it's not on device. Of course, I have Kindle, I have Libby, they have a music app. If you want to store music or audiobooks on there that are DRM free, you can. They have the Navi Ball. What the Navi Ball is it's a little ball that sits in the corner here, and you can tap it and it creates a quick menu. I have it off right now because I wanted to kind of show you. The Navi Ball will basically give you options, and each option will be a little icon, and it'll tell you what it'll do. So you can see back, full refresh, app optimization, multitask switcher, AI assistant, screenshot, and you can look at the little icon, screenshot, Navi Ball setting, and collapse Navi Ball. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And you can see a little ball is popped up there, and that's going to follow me around wherever I go. So wherever you go and whatever app you're in, that little ball will stay there. Now, there are ways to make it so that the ball will appear for 5 seconds when you tap down in the corner. They also, in the Navi Ball settings, have an option to collapse the ball back into the margins. You can see that little curve there, and if you tap the curve, it pops back up. So that's not too bad. And they have push read. What push read is it's basically an RSS server. It can check servers to see if you have files in them, like if you keep a book collection or something in something that uses, I think it's OPSD. I'll put a message up with the exact acronym, but I think it's OPSD. And it also allows you to push web pages. But one thing I should note is it's not straight to the device when you use push read. What you do when you use push read is basically you send it through one of Boox's servers, and then it goes to push read. I may do a tutorial on push read, but since I don't use it much, I don't really use it at all. I didn't include it because mainly I use this device to read. And it has a screensaver app. So I should note that the screensaver app cannot take a screensaver of a book cover. It can take an image that you put in, that you add. It can do a memo, and that's from your memos, your memo app in here. Do a clock. Transparent. What transparent means is that the screensaver or the screen off page will show the last screen that you were using on the device before it went to sleep or powered off. It has the calendar, and then back to images. Gives you a couple options that you can use. You'll notice that whenever I move mine, it flashes. That's just how I chose my overall settings, is that whenever I do any type of animation, it's going to instantly refresh. Because for me, I really mostly am going to be using this for reading, so I wanted the best reading experience possible. And now let's go to settings. So you have languages, date and time, the power settings. You can have a lot of power settings. It has auto sleep. It has things you can do while you're sleeping or not do. So for example, it has delay disconnecting Wi-Fi after sleep, or Bluetooth or audio. That means if your device goes to sleep, for example, let's say you're listening to an ebook. If it goes to sleep, then it will keep playing the ebook. Of course, it's got battery status and show battery value. You can also make sure that when it sleeps and when it wakes up from sleep, or when you turn it on, that the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth will automatically come on if you have it turned off. That's good, because if you are a person who, for battery life reasons, likes to keep your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth off, then when you turn it on, it can turn on the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, pull down whatever updates or information it needs to from the web, so that you're ready to go when you have your device on. Networks, just Wi-Fi. They consider Bluetooth a network. You can have a VPN, and also you can add a hotspot if you want. Has accounts, and these are the DocSync accounts. Are basically the cloud accounts that you add, that you are able to download books from. And just as a reminder, that's where you would go to add a cloud account. They have quite a few. They have WebDAV, Readwise, OneDrive, OneNote, Evernote, Google Drive, Dropbox. They have quite a few. System display, and fonts, full refresh frequency, only display icons of function tabs, things like that. Firmware update. They have the user manual, and you're going to read the user manual. Opens up in Neo Reader for you to read if you want to check it out. So you can see this is Neo Reader. So they actually, it's just a dock in Neo Reader. In your side buttons, you can program your side buttons to do different things. And store settings, really it's just whether you want the store or not. As I mentioned, the store is basically just a bunch of out of copyright docs and free stuff they kind of scrounged up and threw in there. I would really call it more of a resource of stuff you can download for free, rather than a bookstore or a library, because you don't really buy anything. Everything's free. Now what we're going to take a look at is the quick menu. First, I'm just going to jump back to apps, and you slide down for the quick menu. quick access to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, whether you want it on or off. It's got, you can rotate it. It automatically rotates, but you can force a rotate if you want. It's got the Navi ball. You can turn it on or off. Right now it's on, that's why it's black. The AI assistant, kids mode. When you're in an app, you can use kids mode so that that app can't be opened without a password. Boox drop screen mirroring. Screenshot if you want to take a screenshot. Volume, because remember this does have speakers and a recorder. And the lights. I generally go without lights, but you can definitely add lights if you want. It gets pretty nice and bright if you want to. And also with the lights, you can add a color temperature. If you want. One of the things I like the most about black and white e-readers for me is I don't really need a light or minimal light. And with color e-ink readers, you always need a light. It's very tough to read it with no backlight at all unless you're in really, really strong sunlight. Also with the quick menu, you can extend this short quick menu. You'll notice actually the quick menu has 2 pages. So you can do full refresh, screen recorder, notification mute, do not disturb. So it has a bunch of other stuff. And if you hit the edit button, you can add even more stuff. They have screencast and quick share if you want to add those things. I was just saving this for last, the e-ink center. The e-ink center is kind of how you fine tune everything. So you can do the dark color enhancement, light color filter, and that basically means that it either makes the darks darker or the whites whiter. You can use your refresh modes, and they kind of tell you what they do. Normal, good display effects suitable for general text reading, speed, with slight ghosting suitable for quickly thumbing through images and text. A2, with heavier ghosting suitable for scrolling pages with images and text. And then X mode, with some detail loss suitable for browsing websites and playing videos, if that's what you want to do. And you'll notice actually that X has the, if you look at this little wording, it's actually the least clear for X. I usually like to stay in normal. I'm fine with a little bit of flashing. I hate ghosting, so I like it to refresh and be as sharp as possible. But there are certain situations, as you'll see when I go into the third-party apps, that I've tweaked it. And one nice thing is when you tweak it with a particular app, that tweak stays with that app so that you don't have to redo it every time you go back to that app. As far as more has a really important hidden thing in here. They have a drag to refresh and automatic full refresh after dragging and releasing. So if you drag something and you move it, once you drop it down, it'll automatically refresh. That's useful. But the most useful thing is the animation filter time. And what that does is there's some apps where they'll have animations that are part of the process. The most obvious ones are page turn animations. And with e-ink, page turn animations just look terrible. So you can actually raise that animation filter time, and if you raise it high enough, you'll actually take out the page turn, so it just jumps to the next page and it just looks much cleaner. I'll show you when I go into the apps that I've put this in for my Kindle app, and I've put it in for my Libby app, and you can see that even though both those apps have built-in page turn animations that you can't get rid of, you can kind of cut them out with this animation filter or filter them out. All right, and then they have speed mode. The anti-flicker, the larger the value, the less flicker the screen will have, but the ghosting will increase. I do not want ghosting, so I always turn that down to minimum. I haven't really noticed a big difference as far as the quality of the screen, but once again, I'm not bothered by flicker that much. And that's it. Like I said, you can see that's everything in the quick menu. And the last thing I'm going to be doing is, at least in this video, is I'm just going to be showing 3 apps that I think a lot of people are going to use on this device and what that experience looks like. So the first one I'm going to use is Kindle. And you can see this is their main page. I'm going to go to my library. I don't have a bunch of books here because I actually deleted all my books from the Kindle library. So I just added a couple books using Send to Kindle so I could do this demonstration. And you can see these 2 books don't have covers. Whenever you open a book with Send to Kindle, that's when the cover will show up. I already opened this one, so. Susanna Clark, The Wood at Midwinter. And you can see how nice that moves. And I'm going to show you the reason it moves so nice is because I took out the page turns. Watch what happens now that I've made it set there is no filter for animations. See, it's trying to, every time it's trying to do a page turn. And now I'm going to go ahead and filter out the page turn again. You see now how it clearly jumps nicely. All right. So I'm going to go back home. And now I'm going to go ahead and pull up Libby. And just one thing I should note is the screen isn't super sensitive. So whenever you scroll up and down or anything, don't be too delicate with it. Put a little bit of pressure and move up and down or whatever you're doing. You always want to use some deliberate pressure. Not hard, but deliberate pressure. I have one book out as alone. And that's The Gray Wolf. And once again, you can see I have nice clean page turns. And that is because, once again, I've added an animation filter. I've had to go much higher with this one. But once again, it'll vary basis each app you use, and you can see it'll be different. And I'm going to turn down my full refresh. There you go. I could make the text bigger. And there you go. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this app. And the last app I'm going to do is Hoopla. And I'm going to pick eBooks. I got a background activity restriction. Well, through the beauty of the interwebs, I want to show you how you can fix it. And I thought I'd tack it on so you could do it, real time. So what you're going to do is make sure Hoopla's closed. And the way you make sure Hoopla's closed is you go here, go to your, that kind of like a double page copy symbol and click that. That pulls up all your open apps. You want to make sure you have nothing in there. And then you're going to long press on Hoopla and you're going to go to optimize. And then once you get to optimize, you're going to go to others. And then you're going to choose stay active in the background. And that's it. It should work. I guess I'm going to test it out now and see what happens. It doesn't look like there are any animations I have to get rid of. But gee whizzers on a squizzer. That text is super tiny. So that's a little bit better as far as text size. And there you go. Easy peasy. And so I'm going to go ahead and get out of Hoopla. And that is the basic overview of the Boox Page, which is the sibling of the Boox Go Color 7. And obviously, questions, comments, let me know. Also, definitely let me know if you want me to look at any specific apps in my next video, because I'm going to be pulling up and looking at more apps in my next video, just so you can kind of get a sense of what they look like and how they respond. It'll also give me a time to see if there's any kind of quirks with those apps and try and troubleshoot and work my way out of it like I had to do with Libby. So hopefully this was useful to you.